So, you have a complex problem and you want to assemble a team to solve it. What are the roles necessary for an effective project team? How can you get them working together quickly and effectively? One of the best examples I have seen regarding team roles and effectiveness is a sport called dragon boat racing. Let's take a closer look. Dragon boat racing is one of the earliest forms of boat racing, going back to over 2,000 years ago in the southern provinces of China. It is now the fastest growing international team water sport. Overall, it's a spectacle of teamwork, as each boat has 20 paddlers, a drummer, a steersman, all playing their part on a small boat with the face of a dragon. The teams are called crews and are made up of the following individuals. First, the paddlers. The paddlers are chosen based on their abilities. These are highly conditioned individuals who must synchronize with the entire crew in order to deliver the greatest amount of paddling power. Second, we have the drummer. The drummer sits at the head of the boat, backwards facing the paddlers. Their focus is on the team, making sure they stay together through hand signals, voice calls, and of course, drum beats. Third, we have the steersman. The steersman steers the dragon boat with a sweep oar rigged at the back of the boat. They oversee the crew from the back and control the boat looking forward. It is widely known that the crews who assume their individual roles and execute with synergy are the ones who win the races. Now, let's dive into the roles of an improvement project team. Similar to the dragon boat paddlers, project team participants are chosen for their abilities. Here are some things to consider when putting together your team. Participants can be chosen based on their skills, experience, subject matter knowledge, leadership potential, or sometimes their ability to work well in teams. They can take on specific tasks such as data collection, testing, or run chart creation. And lastly, they should represent the process at hand. We don't solve others' problems without having them involved. One more comment about the team participants. On any improvement project team, it is particularly helpful to have a participant with experience in the application of improvement methods, an improvement science subject matter expert, if you will. Team leaders can lean on them to help utilize proper improvement tools and ensure they are applying the science effectively. The next role is the team communicator. Think about the drummer on the dragon boat, as the role is very similar. The communicator communicates what is happening with the project on a frequent and consistent basis. This can include team members and stakeholders outside of the team. They also ensure the project team understands whether improvement is occurring through the sharing and visualizing of data. And finally, the communicator establishes the pace of the team through consistent and clear communication methods such as a weekly email or a text. As with the drummer, without this person, the team will struggle with unified engagement. Next is the team leader, who acts much like the dragon boat steersman. The team leader is responsible for the success or failure of the project and should use project tracking mechanisms such as an A3 or other project documents. The team leader watches team morale and they understand the strengths of the team. They can make assignments and hold others accountable. And they should ensure the stakeholders outside of the team receive updates regarding the project. As the steersman does with the dragon boat, the team leader sets the direction and oversees the team in a vigilant way, ensuring the team continues to be engaged and synchronized by watching from behind and steering through the waters. The team sponsor is the last role and would be similar to the manager of a dragon boat crew. Good sponsors engage quickly when barriers or tough challenges arise, such as a request for resources or approval of IT updates, but they stay out of the way of the project team. The team is still the main force behind the improvement. Having a frequent sponsored check-in can be helpful for keeping them informed. Okay, now that you have the members of your team, let's look at how this team might function. In the 1960s, psychologist Bruce Tuckman wrote an article called Developmental Sequence in Small Groups and coined a series of events that describes the path to any high-performing team. It goes like this: forming, storming, norming, and performing. All teams go through this. First, they form. Team members come together, they're positive and polite, and the leader tries to set forth some clear roles and responsibilities. And second, they begin to storm. There is conflict of different working styles, lobbying for roles or how the team should be run. And then third, they norm. Team members resolve their differences. They have clarified their roles, and they have refined ground rules and agreed to respect their leader authority. And finally, they start to perform. Team structures and processes are in place and perform well. Appreciation, trust, and accountability resounds. So why do we talk about this? Well, because your team will storm, and that's okay. The important point is to get past it quickly. Take a look at the following study. This data is based on observations performed with 65 different project teams across a 5-year period. The results of this study identified 3 common paths teams take through forming, storming, norming, and performing. The first path was observed in 55% of teams, and it was almost like clockwork. A 16-week project team spends 4 weeks in each stage, ending with only 4 weeks as a truly effective team. 25% of teams stay in storming for some time, and then due to a trigger such as a deadline, try to norm quickly, ending with only 2 weeks of good performance. And then finally, 15% of teams get through the first 3 stages quickly and are able to experience 10 weeks of performing. Observations show that they do this by establishing norms such as standards of communication and appreciating each other's abilities and subject matter expertise early on. When a crew sets foot in the Dragon Boat, it is not the first time they've spoken to each other. They must get past their individual differences quickly in order to paddle as a crew. For Dragon Boat crews and improvement project teams, this takes deliberate team discussions where these topics are addressed. So seriously, have these discussions with your team and get through storming quickly. I had the pleasure of witnessing a team apply these principles very well. Let me introduce my colleague Anu Fadke, the primary care doctor who led this project team.
Team roles essentially, I think, define the success of the team. One of the teams that really helped me in my career development at Stanford School of Medicine was a team that came together in 2016 to work on a primary care problem of improving blood pressure control in patients with diabetes. That was probably my best overall team experience because very early on, we had an open conversation with the team where we shared what roles we needed people to fill, and actually just took volunteers. And I think that simple act of saying, here are the different roles people can fill, who would like to do what, was a really great starting point. We had one person on my team who has since become a really close colleague of mine, who was exemplary in his desire to serve in the communicator role. And specifically what he did, every week without fail, he would send us an email communication with our team's data, a really simple visual reflection, what was on tap for this week and who was supposed to be doing it. And then he'd loop in our sponsors. That way, it was a really nice way for the team to just maintain connectedness, pace, and accountability. And so that's kind of my shining example of how someone can really function well in that role and keep the team moving. Another role that's very important to develop and be very deliberate about is the team leader role. Many people gravitate towards that role because they might like the idea of being the captain of a ship or running something. But in all actuality, the leader actually has to be one of the best listeners on the team. Their job is to pick up subtle cues when people have ideas, know which ideas to really promote, which ideas to call out, which people on the team who might not share as readily, turning to them and asking them for their opinions. So I think a really effective team leader helps everyone on the team to be heard and then helps the team to work together towards a common direction. So it's actually a pretty difficult skill to develop, but a very important one for the team too.
Okay, let's summarize the main points from this video. First, what are the roles necessary for an effective improvement project team? The key roles are leader, participant, communicator, and sponsor. Get these roles in place. Second, how can teams achieve synergy quickly? Well, teams need to understand the sequence of forming, storming, norming, and performing, and engage in getting through storming quickly through establishing norms, clear roles, and appreciating each other's skills. How does a team start delivering results? Well, you bring together those talented individuals with strengths and abilities in the areas required. You communicate frequently. The more frequently you communicate, the faster you will learn, and therefore the faster you will improve. And then lastly, you communicate not only frequently, but consistently, keeping those drum beats going through the entire project journey. Thank you for watching today, and best of luck to you as you assemble your own project teams.